People think vengeance starts with anger. It doesn't. It starts with a smile, yours or theirs. The dangerous men, the quiet ones, we don't rush. We let them believe the world is still theirs. We let them laugh, relax, breathe easy. Because revenge isn't the strike, it's the moment before it, when they still trust you, when they still think they've won. That's where the power lives. In the calm, in the patience, in the silence. Real revenge is delivered slowly, coldly, without tremor or warning. They're smiling right up until the fall. People think the first strike is where revenge begins. It isn't. It begins long before that. Long before consequences. Long before the moment breaks them. It starts with a smile you allow them to see. A calm, steady expression that tells them nothing. A polite curve of the lips that hides calculation. They trust it because weak men depend on what they can read. And they can only read faces, never intentions. You let them believe that everything is fine. You let them believe you have moved on, forgotten, forgiven. That belief is the rope they wrap around their own neck. Most men expect rage. They expect loud warnings, arguments, storms. That's why they always fail to see the quiet ones coming. The most dangerous revenge is handed out by a man who looks unbothered. A man who says nothing. A man who appears perfectly still while the ground under their feet begins to loosen. And the moment they relax, that's when your advantage sharpens. They look at you. They see your smile. They think you're harmless. But they forget something. You don't push too soon. You let them get comfortable. You let them stand at the edge without realizing the drop is beneath them. Their confidence makes them blind. Their ego makes them slow. Their assumptions make them vulnerable. And a smile, your smile, becomes the final confirmation they need to walk willingly into their own downfall. Because real revenge isn't about force. It's about timing. It's about patience so cold, it feels like cruelty. You show them nothing, you tell them nothing, and they interpret that silence as safety. They don't understand it's the quiet before the impact. They don't understand you've already made your decision long before they notice something was wrong. They trust the surface because they cannot see the depth. And when the fall arrives, when the truth hits them, they always look confused, shocked, betrayed. They never realized they were the ones who allowed it. They were the ones who missed the signs. They were the ones who mistook your calm for surrender and your smile for softness. But a smile is never softness, not when it belongs to a man who's already chosen the ending. You want revenge? Then learn the first rule. You never tell a man what you're about to do to him. Announcing your intentions is a luxury for loud men, emotional men, weak men who believe noise creates power. It doesn't. Noise exposes you. Noise prepares the enemy. Noise ruins timing. The most dangerous men do not warn, they act. When you speak, you give them time to adjust, time to defend, time to change their approach. And that time is the difference between clean vengeance and a messy failure. You don't give people time, you give them silence. Silence is the most effective weapon in psychological warfare. They can't prepare for what they can't predict. They can't interpret what you don't reveal. They can't stop a storm that moves without sound. Understand this. Every word you say becomes ammunition for someone else. People listen, twist, repeat, and reshape everything you reveal. The less you say, the safer you remain. The more you withhold, the more they fear what you're capable of. Announcing intentions is what men do when they need reassurance. You're not looking for reassurance. You're looking for results. When you stay quiet, people begin to study you. They overthink. They create threats that don't exist. They imagine consequences you haven't even planned. Their own mind becomes the engine of their downfall. That's the beauty of hiding intentions. Your silence does more damage than your words ever could. They make mistakes trying to guess your next move. They panic, trying to predict your direction, and panic makes them sloppy. Your power grows in the spaces you refuse to fill. You don't explain. You don't promise. You don't hint. You move with purpose. And the world scrambles to understand. The moment someone senses you're unpredictable, they start treating you differently. With caution, with respect, with fear. Announcing intentions ruins unpredictability. It gives the enemy a map. A dangerous man has no map. He is the unknown. Look at the men who fail. They talk too much. They confess their anger. They warn their enemies. They brag about what they plan to do. And the moment they speak, their target becomes alert. The element of surprise dies. The upper hand evaporates. They spend more time preparing for their strike than executing it, and that is why their revenge is weak. You must become the opposite. A man who speaks little and calculates much. A man who never allows the enemy to know whether he's planning something or letting something go. Your silence should make people uncomfortable. Your calm should make them doubt. Your posture should suggest that you know more than you're telling, and you always do. Revenge delivered without warning is the only revenge worth delivering. It lands harder, it lasts longer, it teaches deeper. By the time they realize what's happening, it's already over. Your intentions remain invisible. Your execution becomes undeniable. That is how men like you win, not by announcing the storm, but by becoming it. You don't argue, you don't resist, you don't correct their assumptions. You let them think they've beaten you. You let them believe the victory is theirs. Because the moment a man believes he's won, he stops paying attention. He relaxes. He gets sloppy. And that is when you gain every advantage he thought he took from you. People reveal their true nature when they think they're in control. They brag. They overstep. They start speaking freely. They expose weaknesses they would have hidden if they believed you were still a threat. Letting them believe they've won is not surrender. It's extraction. You're gathering every piece of information you need while they celebrate prematurely. When a man thinks the fight is over, he puts his guard down. He stops defending what matters. He stops watching the corners. His arrogance becomes an open door. And you walk through it without resistance. You let his confidence blind him. You let his ego dig the hole deeper. A man who thinks he's untouchable becomes the easiest man to destroy. This is not about humiliation. It's about strategy. The illusion of victory is a tool, a psychological trap, a rope they willingly wrap around their own neck. You're not giving them a win. You're giving them the space to build the perfect collapse. Every smirk, every relaxed breath, every careless decision strengthens your position. They think the story has ended. They think you've stepped aside. They think the danger has passed. And while they live in that illusion, believing the world is bending in their favor, you are preparing the moment that will remind them exactly who you are. Let them celebrate. Let them talk. Let them believe the war is over. Their comfort is your camouflage. Their confidence is your weapon. Their false victory is the stage for your real one. Because when the fall arrives, it won't feel like retaliation. It will feel like fate. If you want to break a man without lifting a hand, learn this. Pretending you don't care is more powerful than any threat you could ever make. Indifference is a weapon. A cold, elegant weapon that cuts quietly and leaves no trace of emotion behind. People expect reactions. They expect anger, frustration, arguments, explanations. The moment you give them nothing, you take everything from them. Pretending you don't care is not apathy. It is strategy. It is control. It is control. It is the deliberate removal of emotional access. When people can't read you, they can't influence you. When they can't influence you, they lose their leverage. Most men are slaves to their reactions. You will be the exception. You will be the man whose silence creates pressure, whose stillness creates fear, whose lack of response becomes the loudest message in the room. Understand something important. People depend on your emotional participation. They need to know you're affected to feel powerful. They need to see you react to feel relevant. When you deny them that, you starve them. You suffocate their influence. You make them question themselves. And doubt is the seed of their collapse. But here's the key. The performance must be perfect. You don't roll your eyes. You don't smirk. You don't show annoyance. You don't retreat. You simply remain unmoved, as if nothing they say or do holds weight. This is how you make your mind the battlefield instead of your fists. This is how you flip the power dynamic without raising your voice. Pretending you don't care forces the other person to fill the silence with their own insecurity. They begin to overthink. They replay conversations. They question their assumptions. They create scenarios in their head trying to understand what you're really thinking. And the more they try to decode you, the more power you gain. They can't hurt a man who doesn't react. They can't provoke a man who stays cold. They can't move a man who refuses to be touched emotionally. Your indifference becomes their frustration. Their frustration becomes their weakness. And the best part? While they are drowning in confusion and insecurity, you are calmly positioning yourself for whatever move comes next. You see clearly because emotion is no longer clouding your judgment. You decide based on logic, timing, and advantage, not impulse. The man who pretends not to care holds the reins of every interaction. He dictates pace, tone, and direction without speaking a word. It is about choosing when and where your emotions are shown. You weaponize your silence. You weaponize your calm. You weaponize the illusion that nothing gets to you. Because a man who appears unaffected becomes unpredictable. And a man who is unpredictable becomes dangerous. Pretend you don't care, not to escape the game, but to control it. Let them guess. Let them worry. Let them crumble under the weight of their own assumptions. That is the art. That is the power. That is how you win without ever appearing to fight. Calm isn't just a mood, it's a tactic. A psychological weapon people never see coming. And if you want to understand how power really works, you start with this. The person who stays calm controls everyone who doesn't. Because calmness is not the absence of emotion, it's the mastery of it. It's the moment you decide that nothing they say, nothing they do, and nothing they try can pull you out of your center. And the moment people realize they can't shake you, they start fearing you without knowing why. Thomas Shelby style calm is different. It's not softness. It's not peace. It's pressure delivered in silence. It's letting the room talk while you reveal nothing. Your stillness makes them restless. Your quiet makes them guess. And their guessing turns into panic because they don't know where your boundaries are, where your limits lie, or what you're capable of when pushed too far. You weaponize your calm by refusing to react on their schedule. You don't speed up when they want speed. You don't raise your voice because they raise theirs. You don't rush to explain yourself. Every second you remain untouched by their noise, your value rises and their confidence drops. Calm is dominance without aggression. It's psychological authority without needing to shout. When you stay composed in moments where most people crack, you send a message. I am built differently. And trust me, people hear that message loud and clear. Here's the truth. Unstable people fear stable people. Loud people fear quiet ones. And emotional people fear the one who stays expressionless while they try every trick to get a reaction. Your calm is a mirror. It reflects their weakness back at them. It shows who's controlled and who's being controlled. Stay silent long enough and the truth always reveals itself. Usually in their frustration, their over-explaining, or their sudden shift into trying to impress you instead of challenge you. You weaponize your calm by using it strategically. When they expect anger, give them neutrality. When they expect panic, give them steadiness. When they expect fear, give them silence. When they push harder, you become even more unshakable. Because nothing terrifies people more than someone who refuses to be moved. That's how calm becomes a blade. Not loud, not flashy, not violent, just cold, steady, and impossible to read. The kind of calm that wins wars before the first move is ever made. Silence is not weakness, it's a trap. And the moment you master it, people start showing you exactly who they are, without a single word from you. Thomas Shelby doesn't need to speak to dominate a room. He just stands there quiet, observing, and the world begins to spill its secrets on its own. That's the power of saying nothing. When you stop talking, you shift the pressure. Conversations become uncomfortable for those who are not calm. People hate silence because it forces them to fill it. And when they do, they reveal more than they intended. Their insecurities, their plans, their fears all come to the surface, often without them realizing it. The less you say, the more they speak. The more they speak, the more control you gain. This isn't about being passive. It's about psychological strategy. You create a vacuum that others rush to fill. They sense that your silence isn't emptiness. It's weight, authority, presence, and they can't resist the pull. Suddenly, you're not just watching, you're reading. Every word, every pause, every hesitation tells you exactly what you need to know. Their intentions, their weaknesses, their motives, laid bare because you didn't react, you didn't interrupt, you didn't give them a hint of your own thoughts. Thomas Shelby's silence is a weapon because it's deliberate. It's not avoidance. It's not indecision. It's a calculated choice to let others expose themselves while you remain untouchable. People talk to mask their own discomfort, to assert dominance where they feel none. But when faced with your quiet, they become reckless, careless. They underestimate you because you're silent. And in that underestimation lies their undoing. You use silence to gather intelligence. You use silence to unsettle. You use silence to shift power. In a room where everyone is talking, the one who doesn't becomes the center of gravity. Eyes turn to you, minds wander to you, and while they try to analyze you, you are analyzing them. You learn faster than they can lie. You notice patterns, inconsistencies, contradictions. You store every detail because your silence forces them to overshare. The secret is consistency. You can't let your silence falter. If you occasionally react, occasionally fill the gaps, the spell is broken. Your calm inaction must be relentless. Like Thomas Shelby leaning back in a smoky room, letting the chatter wash over him, never revealing anything, yet understanding everything. Remember, people fear what they can't control. They fear what they can't predict. And nothing is more unpredictable than a person who doesn't speak yet sees everything. By saying nothing, you compel them to reveal themselves, strip away their facades, and hand you the advantage. Silence isn't absence. Silence is strategy. And when used like a blade, it cuts deeper than any words ever could. Predictable people are easy to control, easy to provoke, easy to read. And that's why Thomas Shelby is dangerous. Not because he's loud, but because no one ever knows what he's about to do. And that uncertainty ruins every strategy built against him. When you become unpredictable, you destroy the enemy's map. You make their assumptions useless. Their plans collapse because every step they take depends on guessing your next move, and you give them nothing to hold on to. Unpredictability isn't chaos. It's intentional confusion. It's the art of refusing to follow the patterns they expect from you. People rely on your reactions. They expect you to get angry. They expect you to defend yourself. They expect you to confront them immediately. They expect you to explain, justify, or prove something. So you do the opposite. Instead of anger, you give indifference. Instead of overreacting, you give silence. Instead of chasing answers, you withdraw completely. Instead of proving your point, you let them misunderstand on purpose. This rattles people because their entire strategy depends on manipulating your responses. When you remove your responses from the equation, they lose their power. Unpredictability forces them to make mistakes. They overthink. They second-guess themselves. They reveal their motives too quickly. They act impulsively because they can't get a read on you. They panic because they can't place you in a category. That's when you gain control. Not by acting wild, but by being unreadable. Thomas Shelby does this masterfully. His unpredictability isn't loud or dramatic. It's subtle, calculated. One moment, he's calm. The next, he's silent. The next, he's walking away without giving anyone the closure they demanded. And that pattern, or lack of pattern, terrifies people more than any threat. To weaponize unpredictability, you must control your emotions and detach from the need to respond. You choose when to engage. You choose when to disappear. You choose when to strike. Never on their timing, never on their assumptions. When you become unpredictable, you break every strategy designed to weaken you. You turn the entire game upside down. They study you, and you give them nothing. They plan around you, and you move differently. They expect you to lose control, and you stay ice cold. Your unpredictability becomes a storm they can't prepare for. And storms don't warn before they strike. Walking away is power. But making them believe you've walked away, that's strategy. That's where the psychological game begins. Because when people think they've lost your attention, your energy, your involvement, that's when their true behavior surfaces. That's when their mask cracks. That's when they panic. Thomas Shelby understands this better than anyone. He knows that absence can hurt more than confrontation. Silence can sting deeper than anger. Distance can expose more truth than any argument. When you step back, not emotionally, but strategically, you trigger something in people. Fear of losing control. The trick isn't to leave. The trick is to let them feel like you already have. You stop reacting. You stop explaining. You stop giving them emotional fuel. You stop being predictable in your availability. People are addicted to attention, especially yours. They might act strong, indifferent, clever, or even arrogant, but they rely on your responses to feel secure. The moment you pull that away, their entire sense of power collapses. You make them think you've walked away by removing your presence without announcing it. No statements, no dramatic goodbye, no emotional messages, just a shift in your energy. You become distant, unreachable, unbothered, not cold, just gone from their universe. And that's what makes them spiral. Suddenly, they start questioning themselves. Did I push too far? Are they upset? Did I lose them? What are they thinking? Why aren't they reacting? Your silence becomes their torture. Your absence becomes the spotlight on their own flaws. They replay every moment. They overanalyze every detail. They dig into their guilt, their ego, their insecurity, all because you didn't give them closure. This move exposes the truth. People only respect what they fear losing. When they think you've walked away, they begin to reveal their real intentions. Those who were pretending will crumble. Those who were manipulating will get desperate. Those who underestimated you will suddenly try to pull you back. It's not about punishing them. It's about observing them without your influence, without your presence stabilizing them, without your reactions guiding them. You see who they are when they feel the door closing. And the beautiful part? You control the timing. You control the distance. You control the return. If you even choose to return. Making them think you're gone gives you leverage. It makes them reconsider their behavior. It makes them recognize your value. It forces them to confront the reality that you don't need them. They need you. Just like Thomas Shelby, you don't announce your departure. You let your silence speak. You let your absence echo. You let them feel the consequences of taking your presence for granted. And by the time they realize what happened, they're already chasing the version of you they once had access to. A version that is no longer standing in the same place. Because sometimes the strongest move isn't walking away. It's letting them believe you already did. A smile can be a weapon, depending on who's wearing it. Most people smile to appear harmless, friendly, clever, or in control. But Thomas Shelby knows the truth. The moment someone smiles at you with hidden intentions, they've already made their first mistake. Because a smile reveals far more than it hides. You don't respond to that smile. You don't mirror it. You don't give them the satisfaction of knowing what you're thinking. You let them believe they've gained an advantage. You let them think you're naive enough to trust it. You let their confidence grow. Too fast, too early. That's where their downfall begins. People who smile with a hidden agenda rely on one thing, your reaction. They want you to soften. They want you to underestimate the situation. They want you to step into their frame. But when you stay unreadable, calm, quiet, studying them, their smile becomes a confession. They start believing you've swallowed the bait, and that belief makes them reckless. They speak too much. They reveal too much. They act too quickly. Their arrogance blinds them, and your silence makes them think they're winning. That's how you turn their smile into their mistake. Your power comes from letting them feel comfortable. Too comfortable. Because comfort makes people sloppy. Confidence makes them expose their strategy. Their smile becomes the doorway into their real intentions. Thomas Shelby does this effortlessly. He doesn't confront the smile. He doesn't challenge it. He lets it sit. He lets the other person think they're clever. And by the time they realize he saw through them from the beginning, it's already too late. His silence gave them enough rope to hang their own plan. When you refuse to react to a deceptive smile, you force the other person to reveal the second layer of their game. The facade cracks. Their ego pushes them to keep talking, keep showing off, keep trying to control the moment. They reveal their weaknesses because they believe you're unaware. But you were listening the entire time. Their smile becomes their tell. Their attempt to outplay you becomes the exact mistake that exposes them. You don't defeat people by confronting them. You defeat them by letting them underestimate you. You let them think they're smarter until they prove they're not. That's the art. Their smile was meant to deceive you. But in your silence, in your calm, in your unreadability, their smile becomes the first step toward their own downfall. Real power doesn't shout. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't storm into the room demanding attention. Real power moves in silence, calculated, deliberate, surgical. And when it strikes with precision so clean, so sharp, that by the time anyone realizes what happened, the move is already over. That's the way Thomas Shelby operates. No noise, no chaos, just results. It's about being disciplined enough to keep your intentions hidden until the exact moment they need to surface. It's about refusing to let your emotions leak into your strategy. The loudest people expose their plans. The quiet ones build theirs brick by brick, unnoticed. Your silence becomes your shield. Your timing becomes your weapon. Your precision becomes your signature. When you execute quietly, you take away the enemy's biggest advantage, anticipation. They can't prepare for what they cannot predict. They can't block a hit they never saw coming. They can't counter a move they didn't know was in motion. Quiet execution begins long before the strike. It starts with watching, absorbing, studying. You learn patterns, weaknesses, cracks in their armor. You don't rush. You don't reveal frustration. You wait. Patience becomes the pressure that they never see until it's too late. Most people lose because they show too much. They talk before they act. They threaten before they're ready. They warn before they move. Not you. You hit when the silence is thick enough that the impact echoes louder than any threat ever could. Thomas Shelby's precision comes from understanding timing. He doesn't confront emotion with emotion. He doesn't respond instantly. He lets the situation breathe, lets his opponent become comfortable, careless, and convinced they've figured him out. And then he strikes. A single sentence, A single action, a single decision delivered without hesitation. One action that closes every door behind them. One hit that ends the game without a second round. To execute quietly in your own life, you must remove the need for validation. You don't tell people your plans. You don't broadcast your struggles. You don't warn anyone about your next step. You build in the dark. You move in the dark. You finish in the dark. And when the result appears, it speaks for you. People fear this kind of power because they can't influence it. They can't sabotage what they don't know exists. They can't prepare for what you never speak about. They can't block a strike that arrives in total silence. Your quiet execution is a promise you make to yourself. You won't waste energy on proving. You won't waste words on convincing. You won't waste time on explaining. You will act. You will deliver. You will finish. When you execute quietly and hit precisely, you don't win by fighting harder. You win by fighting smarter. You win by controlling the moment. You win by striking only once, but striking with absolute accuracy. Because in a world full of noise, the silent move is always the deadliest. The aftermath is where real power settles. Not in the move you made, not in the decision you delivered, but in the silence that follows. Thomas Shelby never lingers after impact. He never stays to explain, justify, or comfort. He lets people sit alone with the consequences he created, and that isolation is what breaks them. Because when you walk away after making your move, you deny them the one thing they desperately want: clarity. People crave explanations. They want to understand your motives, your thoughts, your next step. They want closure to soothe their ego. When you don't give it, they're forced to confront themselves instead of you. You let them understand alone. In that quiet space, their mind becomes the loudest voice in the room. They replay everything you said, everything you didn't say. Every moment they misunderstood your silence, every warning they ignored, every sign they missed. Your absence becomes their mirror, reflecting their own mistakes back at them. This is the moment where ego collapses, where bravado fades, where manipulation crumbles, where lies can't survive without someone to believe them. Your job is simple: do nothing. You don't check on them. You don't explain your reasoning. You don't soften the blow. You don't return to make them feel better. The aftermath is their battlefield, not yours. People learn the truth only when their comfort is removed. When you step away, they feel the weight of every choice they made. They realize what your presence prevented, what your silence warned, what your boundaries meant. Understanding doesn't come during the conflict. It comes after, when there's no noise left, no audience, no excuses. That's why you let them sit with the aftermath alone. It teaches more than confrontation ever can. It humbles more than anger ever will. It reveals more than any argument could. And if there was any doubt about your intentions, your distance makes everything clear without a single word. Because the person who is truly done doesn't speak. They withdraw. They detach. They leave the lesson behind and never return to repeat it. Thomas Shelby never explains the storm he brings. He simply lets people feel the weather after he's gone. And in your own life, that's the final move. Act with precision, then disappear. Deliver the consequence, then detach. Let the lesson echo in the silence you leave behind. Because the truth always hits hardest when they have to face it alone. Most people confuse revenge with rage. They think retaliation requires loud anger, chaotic action, or a public display of fury. They imagine it as storming in, burning bridges, and leaving evidence of their wrath. He knows that real revenge isn't about letting emotions run wild. It's about creating order, control, and inevitability. Revenge is calculated. Rage is impulsive. Rage satisfies the ego in the moment, but exposes weaknesses, creates collateral damage, and signals to others that you can be provoked. Revenge, on the other hand, is a precise system. It is the architecture of consequence built so carefully that the target never knows it until it's already too late. The key is detachment. To enact true revenge, you detach from personal fury. You remove emotion from the equation. You stop thinking in terms of hurting them and start thinking in terms of correcting imbalance. Every action becomes intentional. Every step is a piece of a plan. Every silence, every withdrawal, every calculated move becomes part of the mechanism. Revenge is not a spectacle. It's order imposed on chaos. It's the act of taking control when someone tried to destabilize you. It's creating a system in which their mistake, their betrayal, their arrogance, their overreach leads inevitably to their own downfall. They walk into it thinking they're safe, thinking they have the upper hand, and yet your design guides them straight to the consequence. Thomas Shelby's revenge is elegant. It doesn't scream. It doesn't demand attention. It doesn't chase validation. It is quiet, measured, and precise. The target may laugh, underestimate, or mock, but the structure of your response ensures they pay the price without ever seeing it coming. Rage would alert them. Order blinds them. Revenge, as order, also preserves power. It signals to others that you are in control, that nothing escapes your calculation, that your influence is steady and inevitable. People fear rage because it's unpredictable. They respect order because it's unstoppable. If you want revenge to be truly effective, it cannot be a reaction. It must be a strategy, a system, a silent force that rebalances the scales in your favor. Rage is temporary. Order is permanent. And when the dust settles, it's not the noise of your fury that remains in memory. It's the inevitability of your precision. Revenge is not rage. It's control. It's discipline. It's order delivered with unshakable calm. That's why the silent ones, the calculated ones, the patient ones, they always win. When the dust settles, when the chaos ends, when everyone else is picking up the pieces, that's when your true power becomes visible. Thomas Shelby never just survives the storm. He stands in its aftermath, unshaken, untouchable, and every action he took crystallizes into an aura that commands attention. Your aura is not built while things are going well. It's forged in silence after your moves have landed, after the consequences have been felt, after others realize the scale of what they've just faced. People look around and see who remained steady, who remained calm, who didn't waste energy proving themselves. That person, you, suddenly carries an authority that cannot be challenged. The fall exposes weaknesses in everyone else, and it reveals the strength in you. While they argue, panic, or scramble, your quiet composure amplifies every impression. You don't need to speak. You don't need to explain. Your mere presence communicates mastery. The aura after the fall is subtle but undeniable. It's the calm that survived chaos, the focus that ignored distractions, the clarity that others lacked. Thomas Shelby's aura isn't flashy. It isn't loud. It doesn't demand recognition. It's felt. It lingers. It changes the room. People instinctively respect it, fear it, or both. To cultivate this aura, you must embrace the aftermath rather than rush to fix it. You observe the results of your actions. You measure impact. You let the world adjust to the new reality you created. Every reaction, every misstep from others reinforces your presence. Their fear, respect, or awe feeds your authority, but it requires restraint, the ability to watch quietly without needing to assert control again. The aura after the fall is silent power. It's influence without effort. It's mastery without demonstration. People feel it in the way you enter a room, in the way your gaze lingers, in the subtle decisions that show you're always one step ahead. After the fall, your silence speaks louder than words ever could. After the fall, your composure becomes a statement. After the fall, your aura ensures that no one forgets you. Not the moment, not the lesson, and certainly not the person who emerged unshakable. True power doesn't celebrate itself. Thomas Shelby doesn't throw parades after a win. He doesn't announce his triumphs or demand recognition. Victory, for him, is silent. And that silence carries more weight than any public display ever could. The moment you start broadcasting success, you give others a chance to challenge it. You invite scrutiny, envy, and sabotage. Silence, on the other hand, preserves control and multiplies respect. When the fight is over, when the target has been neutralized, when your strategy is played out perfectly, there's no need for applause. The outcome itself speaks louder than any words or gestures ever could. People will notice. They will understand. They will feel the consequences. And that awareness alone cements your authority. Celebrating draws attention to your ego. Silence draws attention to your power. Victory without noise is also a tool of intimidation. By withholding celebration, you make others question what else you are capable of. They wonder how far your control extends, how deep your strategy runs, and how little they actually understand about your methods. Thomas Shelby's victories are often invisible until their effects are undeniable, and that invisibility terrifies those who tried to oppose him. Moreover, silence after success allows you to conserve energy and maintain focus. Those who boast burn out quickly. Their attention turns outward toward praise or recognition rather than inward toward the next move. Silence keeps your mind sharp. It ensures that every action remains deliberate, every plan precise, every consequence calculated. You don't rest on your achievements, you let them work for you while you prepare for what comes next. People respect restraint. They fear someone who doesn't need validation. They admire the one who can win without fanfare and strike without warning. Your quietness becomes a message. Victory was inevitable, mastery is constant, and your presence alone is enough to command the room. Thomas Shelby never lingers in celebration. He moves forward, letting the results speak, letting the silence echo. That's how true dominance is maintained, not by announcing it, but by embodying it. No victory parade, no cheers, no audience needed, only silence, sharp, heavy, and unmistakable. And in that silence, the world finally understands the measure of your power. Power isn't loud, it isn't reactive. It's the calm in the storm, the silence in the chaos, the presence that demands attention without demanding words. Let them smile, believing they've won. Let them misjudge, misstep, and underestimate. Your strength lies in restraint, precision, and patience. When the consequences arrive, they fall, not by force, but by inevitability. True mastery isn't about being seen, it's about being felt. Let them experience the aftermath while you remain untouchable, unshaken, and quietly dominant.